On behalf of ESTA and USITT, welcome to the 2021 New World Rigging Symposium and the presentation of the 2021 ESTA Lifetime Technical Achievement Award. I wish we could all be together in person, so I appreciate it that much more to have you joining us online tonight to keep the spirit alive. I'd like to extend a very sincere thanks to the New World Rigging Symposium Planning Committee for their tireless effort in putting this event together and for letting us use the stage to honor one of our industry's brightest. The ESTA Board of Directors and the Technical Standards Council created the Lifetime Technical Achievement Award to celebrate individuals who have made significant contributions to the entertainment industry over a period of at least 25 years. The contributions can be related to the development of innovative products, tools, technology, safety improvements, interoperability, or processes. But commercial success of these items need not be a primary qualifier. When reviewing candidates for this award, the selection committee will also consider characteristics such as, wow, that's really cool, or I wish I'd thought of that. To date, there have been 3 ESTA Lifetime Technical Achievement recipients. Bob Goddard, who innovated entertainment control equipment, perhaps most notably with his Little Geomaxter. Scott Fisher, whose Navigator automation system made disparate technologies work in unison. And Rocky Paulson, champion and innovator of safe practices and mentor to countless technicians. This year's winner is no less legendary. Roy Bickel has been a pillar of our community for over half a century. This picture provides the tiniest glimpse of his illustrious career. Kiss, New Kids on the Block, and Tina Turner are just the few monumental acts I can make out in this photo. Even if we had a wide angle, I'm sure it wouldn't cover half of Roy's accomplishments. So, here to make the real speeches about the man of the hour are 2 of our community's beloved and decorated members, 2019 Lifetime Technical Achievement Award winner Rocky Paulson and TSP Above and Beyond Award winner Chris Schmidt.
Thank you, Aaron. When the call went out to ask for nominations for the Lifetime Achievement Award, there was only one person that I could think of that came to mind immediately. A gentleman who has been a consummate professional and has a career that has spanned well over 5 decades. Somebody that I've worked closely with over the years, and his contributions to the industry go back as far as the early Disney on Parade days. A lot of the techniques used in arena style rigging today that were developed in those days by none other than Roy Bickel are still in current use today. And I'd like to hand this off to Rocky Paulson now, who is going to share some stories of his days with Roy in the early days of arena rigging.
Thank you, Chris. I just want to mention a few of the many things that make Roy most deserving of this ESTA Lifetime Technical Achievement Award. I met Roy in 1972 when I was a local rigger, and he came in as head rigger of the Mary Poppins Disney on Parade show. Back then, there weren't that many of us actual climbing riggers in the business. And the few that we were a pretty cocky group of young men. We all thought we were bulletproof, except for Roy. Roy never thought he was bulletproof because he, in fact, was the bullet. Roy has always been an innovator and done things his own kind of way, which is one of the things that made him such a great contributor to our industry. But I have to mention the one thing that created a sea change in the way we do rigging. Prior to the Disney shows, Roy was a circus rigger. And when he was hired as the head rigger of the first Disney on Parade show, he had to set up his own rigging department and train riggers and so on and so forth. So instead of doing it the old-fashioned way, instead of doing it the old-fashioned circus rigging way, he did it a new way. The old way on the left is tying wire rope around beams with clove hitches and circus hitches, or wrapping the beams with wire rope and cross-beaming them back to themselves. It was a royal pain to do it that way. But Roy had the company buy several Nica press tools, including a hydraulic Nica press tool that would press up to 5/8 inch slings. So we made our own. And Roy came up with the idea of making 5, 10s, 20s, 30s, and 50s, color-coded red, white, blue, green, and yellow. These, shackling these slings together, you could make whatever length you needed, and then all you had to do was wrap the top one around the beam and shackle it back to itself. It was an amazing revelation and cut the rigging time in at least by 50%. So if there's one biggest change in rigging in my 5 decades of rigging, it would have to be Roy's idea of coming up with slings and shackling them together. The shows that we did back then, we used sky climber hoists, which are cable climbing devices used on man lifts for window washing mainly. And you could get whatever length sling you needed from the Sky Climber company. So we just bought 2 sets of slings, or Roy did, bought 2 sets of slings so we could go off and do the advanced rigging. In those days, the rigging took so much time, we couldn't really do it during the normal load-in. So this was an excellent way that the advanced rigger didn't have to take too much equipment with them, and the show didn't have to spend extra money on hoists. Many years later, during the rock and roll period, Roy did a Kenny Rogers in the round tour where he brought back these cable climbing devices into the business. The top arrow is pointing to the device, and the bottom arrow is a redirection sheave, which redirects the cable from the ceiling into the input of the hoist. As the first Disney rigger, Roy, like I said, had to decide what kind of equipment was going to be used and set up the whole thing, but he also had to train an entire cadre of riggers, because the Disney shows, once they got going, had 2 or 3 or maybe even 4 shows touring at a time, that Roy had to kind of manage the rigging on all of these things. When Roy hired me, he taught me a lot. He taught me climbing techniques. He taught me about the technical rigging procedures. He taught me about the equipment that we were using and all the limitations and rules about using whatever it was that we were using. And inspection, you know, we had to rigidly inspect equipment all the time. In addition, these shows all had aerialists on them. So in addition to the regular rigging stuff, we were all taught how to spot aerialists during their performances, and we were taught how to do the daily and weekly inspection of all the aerialist paraphernalia as well. Later on, all these skills that were taught to many of us during those Disney years went on to define what it meant to be an arena rigger, to call yourself an arena rigger. And because of this excellent training that went on during that time period, when the rock and roll explosion came along, there was a well-qualified base of riggers trained by Roy that allowed for the rapid expansion of our industry during that period in a very safe and sane fashion. Later on in Roy's career, in the early 2000s, he joined the ETCP certification development team. And his contributions there, because of his vast rigging experience and knowledge, went a long way to make the certification exam the best it could be. To this day, I know Roy is a proud and loud proponent of this certification program. And from rumors, I hear that he's actually still working on improving the certification even further.
Yeah.
So for this and many, many other reasons, I would like to present Roy, the godfather of RIG, the ESTA Lifetime Technical Achievement Award, Roy.
Wow. Thank you, Rocky.
You're entirely welcome, Roy.
Thank you. Guys, I'm honored and humbled and proud that actually you and I have actually gotten this award. And thank you, ESTA. And there's a few other people I'd like to thank in my long 50-year career. First off, it would be Hal Elgin. He ran the Aquamaniacs water ski school, and we did shows all around Florida. And when we started doing pyramids of different kinds, frontwards, backwards, etc., he said, Roy, would you like fix the ropes up the right lengths? So I did it on land first to make, and then made the lengths and had them all look nice with splices. Wow. And then my first professional rigging job was when I was a human cannonball. We were in Montreal, I think, and it was the first venue that I had done where the net that I would land in when getting shot from the cannon, instead of being on net poles, you know, it was hung from the ceiling. So, God, I looked and I said, God, I wonder what's holding that net up there. I'd hate for something to fall and me hit the ground. So I climbed up, went up to, I was already a good climber. I went up there and looked at it, and Casey Gibbs was up there. He was the boss. And he said, wow, Roy, you're a pretty good climber. Would you, you want to come rig to the circus? And I said, wow, sure. What's it pay? He says, I think 100 a week. I'm saying, wow. I'm saying to myself, I got $250 a week for doing the cannon and another 100 to rig. Wow, that was really big money in those days. God, next I went to, after Disney on Parade, which they took me because I was a rigger, did that for quite a while. Then I went to New York and I worked for Pete Feller Scenery. At that time in the 70s, he built all the Broadway shows. So of course, he put me on them. So I did automation for The Wiz and for Chicago and Truckload and Pippin. And from there went into rock and roll. I also want to thank the International Alliance of Theatrical and Stage Employees, also known as the IA. I've been a member with them for 51 years. I transferred here to Las Vegas, local 720, in like 94, 95, where I was able to continue, or actually start up my convention work and go back and forth between conventions and rock and roll. So anyway, just a big thank you to 720. And I want to thank Mike Edgeworth for me being the foreman at the convention center here in Vegas. And most of all, I'd like to thank my wife, Diana, for almost 38 years standing by my side and taking care of me. Guys and gals, thank you all.